and I woke up only to find that my wife was standing over me as I took my last breath. And I had to tell her I was a monkey. That's right, I'm going to have to tell her I'm a monkey. I kind of have to say that Spare the Dying is one of those topics that has cropped up on a number of occasions on my channel, and I've always had a conversation with people around this, and it's always been problematic. So I thought today was the day where I should provide people with some options rather than just leave it as it is, which tends to be what tends to happen most of the time. You know, Spare the Dying is, frankly, in some respects, I think, too hard to fix. But that's not what we're going to do. What we're going to do is we're going to actually give you some options to work with, and then you will make some decisions as a dungeon master, or if you're a player, then maybe you can talk to your dungeon master and offer them some alternatives, because Spare the Dying as it stands isn't very good. Okay, you will find the start time for this video down in the description, so if you want to get past all of the setup and of the live stream, that's not a problem. I will do that. Usually that happens when YouTube has published the video as a high definition video. Okay, so the sound seems to be coming through fine. You will let me know if there's any issues with the sound or picture, and I will do my best to fix them now while I can. Now, so that you are aware of what's going on in this particular live stream, I am going to present everything to you first. This is how I do my live streams. I present everything first, and then once I've presented everything, we go back to the webcam, and then I will do a Q&A, or questions and answers. And the Q&A and questions and answers is always about whatever you want to talk about. It could be on the topic we are discussing today, or it could be something else. That's not a problem. I would also like to point out that this live stream will stay public until I have processed and edited down the live stream into a shorter version. Then the edited version will go public, and this will go unlisted. You will find that if you are a patron, you can still access this. If you have clicked the bell button, turned on notifications, and you are subscribed to the channel, you should be able to find the live stream later on if you want to watch the entire thing and don't have time right now. I totally understand that. Makes a lot of sense. Okay, so I'm going to show you a whole bunch of slides while I go through my notes, and we'll come back to the webcam after. So grab some food, get comfortable, settle down. Let's talk about Spare the Dying, because it is a topic that keeps coming up on the internet, and I think it's probably time to deal with this in a video. And I noticed nobody on YouTube has done that, so this is the time. Hi, welcome to HowtoDandD. My name is Fred Weller, and today I want to talk about Dungeons and Dragons. And the topic for today is, are you an orangutan? No, it's not. It's got nothing to do with that whatsoever. No, we're talking Dungeons and Dragons, how to fix Spare the Dying in Dungeons and Dragons 5e. Ho ho! What a topic to talk about. I can see the comments are going to be flying hard and fast with this one, but I'm going to make it clear. I do believe that Spare the Dying does need fixing. If you are the kind of person who believes there are no problems with Spare the Dying, this is the wrong video and topic for you, and you should go and watch one of my other videos, not this video, because this video is very much about trying to fix Spare the Dying. I will offer 5 variant rules for Spare the Dying and a bonus tip at the very end. So stick around to the very end so you can see what I have to say about Spare the Dying. Now, if you want to look for Spare the Dying, you will find it on page 277 of the Player's Handbook. And basically this spell is a cantrip. It has a casting time of 1 action. It's touch. You have to get it right up close. It has a verbal somatic component. It's instantaneous. Necromancy is the skill, and it is classified as a type of healing. You can touch a living creature that has 0 hit points. That means they still have to be living. They can't be dead. The creature becomes stable. This spell has no effect on undead or constructs. And that is a very simple spell. But tied in there are a whole bunch of problems. And what I would like to do is I would like to pull this apart for you just a bit. So why does the Spare the Dying cantrip need fixing? Why do we even go there? I'm going to give you the reasons I think it needs to be fixed, and then of course you will have to weigh in later on. First off, the Healer's Kit does the same thing for 5 gold pieces. Not expensive. A first level character can do this. You can use it 10 times. And all you do is a medicine check and automatically stabilize a creature as an action. Exactly the same thing as the cantrip. And all you do is buy this renewables resource. It's something that, it's a limited resource that you can keep buying. It's not an issue. It's not expensive. You can buy them anywhere. The Healer's Kit is basic adventuring gear. That means anybody can use it and anybody can buy it. So that's the biggest problem with Spare the Dying as far as I see it. The Spare the Dying cantrip, it only stabilizes a dying creature. It does not actually bring them conscious. They're still unconscious. They're not dying anymore, but they're just still lying on the ground there, really doing nothing. You might want to use this on an NPC to save their life. You most likely can't stabilize a non-player character or a monster or a creature or a beast if your dungeon master has them die when they reach 0 hit points, which frankly is the standard operating procedure for most dungeon masters and is the standard operating procedure listed in the player's handbook, except for very important NPCs, creatures and monsters and such. So therefore, you're not necessarily going to be using it on a non-player character or a monster. And that is not very useful, particularly if you want somebody to interrogate later on. The characters are still out of the fight. Even if you use this cantrip, they may not be dying, but they are not in the fight. They are going to be lying there doing nothing while you stick it out. The characters stabilized, but they are still extremely vulnerable to being killed by future attacks, which could happen from the environment or from the dungeon master using their monsters, doing the most sensible thing, which is to finish off their target, or if it's a beast, trying to eat the downed creature or downed character who's been stabilized. And that is just going to cause a whole bunch more problems. So therefore, not hugely sensible to use Spare the Dying unless you've really got no spells left and there's nothing else you can do and you've used every single use of your Healer's Kit. Spare the Dying uses up a valuable cantrip known slot. You don't get that many cantrips. You have to be choosy about them, and Spare the Dying is one of those things that is going to chew up one of those known slots or known spells for the cantrip. So variant rules for fixing Spare the Dying. I have searched the internet, I have pulled from everywhere, and I have included some that I have used myself. So here we go. Number 1 on my list. Change the casting time to a bonus action. Most common suggestion is just change the casting time from one action to a bonus action. This makes it better than the Healer's Kit. And you can also use your action to do something else, like make an attack or cast a spell, which makes an awful lot of sense, right? Casting a spell, that's a cantrip, that is, because you've just used a cantrip as a bonus action. Number 2. Number 2 is extend the spell range to 30 feet. That's right. Instead of touch, you can use it at a range of 30 feet. This way your character can still cast the spell if you can't get close enough to the dying creature or character to touch them. There are very few occasions when this might happen, but it does crop up from time to time, so that would make it far more useful than having a Healer's Kit. Spare the Dying, extend the range. Number 3. Number 3 is allow multiple allies or creatures to be stabilized at a range of 30 feet. And how many can you stabilize? Well, you can stabilize a number equal to the spellcaster's casting modifier. That's right, there are restrictions on it, but it still works really well and therefore much more useful. This is much more likely to be useful at low levels of play when large numbers of the party can wind up going down. At high level play, you usually don't have multiple allies falling over. Therefore, it's really unlikely. And at high level play, you don't often run out of spells. You probably will have slots left over, unless of course the Dungeon Master's really working you hard. Now, the cantrip doesn't scale up, but being able to stabilize multiple allies does have some sort of scaling effect to it. Okay, number 4, option number 4. Instead of the creature becoming stable when you use this cantrip, it's going to regain 1 hit point and become conscious. Wow. Now, much better than the healer's kit, gets the character back in the battle, and it's more in line with what players expect. Players were expecting Spare the Dying to be more useful than what it currently is. And I think that probably does it. Now, I would like to point out that this version of the cantrip it's already been play tested. It was dumped by the design team. Okay, it was discarded and considered too powerful. So if you're going to use this, be aware that it has been tested and the design team decided it was not suitable for play. But we've got a number 5. We've got an option 5, and this might feel a bit better to you. Number 5 is the creature regains 1 hit point as before if it is dying, and it becomes conscious, but you also gain 1 level of exhaustion by using this cantrip on a creature who is dying. Okay, so better than version 4, probably the one that makes the most sense to me. It's not as good as the Paladin's Lay on Hands, but then the Paladin's Lay on Hands probably should be pretty good compared to a cantrip. And it makes a lot of sense. And there is a disadvantage to using the cantrip, but you still get the player back into the fight rather than lying on the ground. Or should I say the player's character back in the fight. We're not going to get the players back in the fight. If they're there, then that's going to be really messy, isn't it? Okay, so bonus tip. My bonus tip to you is just remove the cantrip from the Dungeons & Dragons 5e game. I know that sounds brutal, but the spell is just not useful enough at higher levels of play. As you level up, it just won't be used at all. In fact, you're probably going to want to go to your Dungeon Master and say, can I swap out this cantrip because I never use it anymore? Because at high level play you have so many spell slots. So high level play, not very useful. If you try to make changes to this cantrip, as I have suggested, you wind up duplicating existing spells, or you make it overpowered. So I suggest just ditch it from the game so that some poor player doesn't wind up selecting this and getting bummed out later on. Okay, now if you found this video useful and helpful, excellent. I do have other videos on variant rules for Dungeons & Dragons 5e, which you are welcome to go and check out if you want to. If you want to support the channel so I keep doing video content like this, you can do that through Patreon, through the Amazon affiliate links that I have down in the description. You can also check out my merchandise shelf underneath my video, or just keep watching my videos, that's fine too. Make sure to share, like and subscribe, hit the bell button to be notified when I go live and when I publish new videos. And hey, till next time, keep rolling those 20s. And we're back to my face. Okay, all right. I didn't think that this video would be very popular, and I'm aware that it's not really a topic that people bring up very much. But let's have a quick discussion. I do want to break down some of the information I've given you. For those of you who were unaware, I was part of the beta testing for D&D Next, which is now Dungeons & Dragons 5e. I was also part of the alpha play testing for D&D Next, which is now D&D 5e. And I have used a couple of different versions of this cantrip in the game. So I kind of know what you can expect by using them, because I've actually used them myself. I just need a drink of water. I'll just check my eyes, see if my glasses are going to actually be helpful. Okay, all right. So, hi Fred, how's it going? Hi John, how's it going, mate? And Overboard DM is here. Now, Overboard DM runs a channel on miniatures and terrain and other things, and I highly recommend going and checking out his channel. It's worth it, okay? Now, what do you got here, Fred? I'll just work my way through here really quick. Part of the reason the spell seems off is the power given to the healing kit. Yes, it certainly is. The healer's kit is what makes the big difference, okay? If we didn't have something like the healer's kit and you deleted the healer's kit, then Spare the Dying would make a lot more sense. If the healer's kit required something else, it would make sense. I don't dislike the use of a healer's kit. I think it's actually not a bad idea. It's a shame that we don't have groups who play the game, because everybody should be carrying a healer's kit. It means you do not have to make a medicine check as an action if you have a healer's kit. You use up one of the uses of it, and you can automatically stabilize a creature. So it's a no-brainer. You should definitely get a healer's kit. But it duplicates what Spare the Dying does. What do you got here, Fred? Make the healer kit require a skill check to succeed. Now the cantrip is... Yeah, but see, you can make a skill check without the healer's kit to stabilize a creature. Okay, so if you change that, you wind up shifting too many things, and it has a flow-on effect. All right, so deleting the healer's kit completely, I suppose you could do that, but I still think it's like a good thing to have there. What do you got here, John? I think it would be interesting to add some of the options as the level increases. Yeah, now, John, that's actually a good idea. I didn't say anything about combining these variations to the cantrip, but you could look at it like, okay, you start out and all it does is stabilize a creature, which frankly, thank you, Jeff, for the super chat. And I'm happy to do as much work as I can as long as I have time and it's still fun. And so far it's still been fun. So what you could do, if you look at a cantrip and its progression, is you could apply something like version 1 when the players reach level 5 or character level 5. Or you could apply something like extending the range later on. I think that a bonus action certainly makes it a lot more useful. I think the version that I like the most is either ditch the cantrip completely or simply use version 5, where you regain 1 hit point and you gain a level of exhaustion. And we just go with that. Because what you're doing is you're having to draw on the character's energy to get them back on their feet. Now, in terms of playtesting and what I've playtested in the past and what we can do with this, the version 4, which is where you regain a hit point and you're conscious, was actually playtested during, I don't know if it was necessarily playtested during the beta test, but it was certainly playtested during the alpha playtest, because I was there when we did it. And I can tell you that a lot of us, our feedback was, it's overpowered, it's too good. You know, taking Spare the Dying made so much sense. It was better than the Paladins Lay on Hands. Now, here's the thing that I find really amusing about something like a cleric who uses Spare the Dying. That's one of their spells, right? If you have a paladin and you have Lay on Hands, I want you to think about what level you are as a paladin when you get Lay on Hands. That essentially means that a paladin can save the life of 5 characters when they get their Lay on Hands, because they get 5 points to spend, right? 5 points. That's a lot. That actually has quite a significant effect. So, given that the paladin gets Lay on Hands so early on, level 1, a paladin in terms of looking after the party and getting them back on their feet is probably going to be more effective and efficient than a cleric, which is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Thank you, Overboard DM. Thank you, Joe. Thank you for the super chat. I haven't got a chance to play in a while. Looking forward to getting back into regular weekly sessions. Love your videos, Fred. You're welcome. I have a whole bunch of stuff sitting on my hard drive I have to edit. And I can assure you there's more content coming. I had a little problem with YouTube, who were about to demonetize me, but hopefully that's all sorted out. So I am backlogged again more, but I am working hard to give you some collaboration videos. Okay, so now let's get back to talking about the Paladin and then the Cleric. So that means a level 1 Paladin can get 5 characters back on their feet. And all they're going to do is expend their lay on hands with 1 point each time. Give them 1 hit point, they're now conscious, they're back in the fight. It's a waste of time giving them 2 or 3 or 4 or even 5 hit points because it wouldn't be enough to keep them up. Now if you look at the Cleric, who is essentially a healer, how many times can a Cleric get somebody back on their feet without taking a specific feature, feat, or an archetype that works with all of this and waiting a few levels? Okay, so at level 1 they get 3 cantrips. That's it. Okay, and they get 2 spells. That means that a Cleric can only get 2 characters at level 1 back on their feet, and yet a Paladin can do 5. This is why I would suggest to you allowing Spare the Dying to give the player's character 1 hit point and get them back in the fight. Because right now, the Paladin is better to play at low level than the Cleric in terms of getting people back in the fight. And it's ridiculous. Why would we do that? Well, it's happened. And I understand that, we don't want to make it too powerful. So therefore, version 5 include a level of exhaustion. A level of exhaustion is not a big deal. Okay, 1 level of exhaustion will not hurt the game that much, but it will still put in it will still force the players to go and take a good long rest, because you kind of have to if you have that in effect. Okay, I think that was the most sensible option out there. I had a subscriber. I don't know whether he's a subscriber, but he made a comment, and he actually talked about this. He actually said, look, give them 1 hit point and make it give them exhaustion, and then it actually all sort of works out. And I think he's right. I honestly think that should have been the version of Spare the Dying that we saw in Dungeons & Dragons 5e. Now the good thing about this game is Dungeons & Dragons 5e is something you can modify and change, right? So you can adjust things. You don't have to sort of just stick with it. You can do different things. So what does 1 level of exhaustion do? You get disadvantage on ability checks. Okay, that's ability checks and skill checks, but it does not affect your attack rolls. If you were to wind up having 2 levels of exhaustion, your speed is halved. Still, that's not very helpful, but still not a big deal. It's level 3 exhaustion, so if you were to wind up having to do this 3 times on the same character in the same battle, they would wind up with disadvantage on attack rolls and saving throws. But they would have to have 3 levels of exhaustion. So there's plenty of room to move. You are not penalizing your players that much and their characters by including exhaustion into the script for that spell. Okay, that's why I suggest give it a go. I think you will find it will work out quite well. I always feel bad for people who select Spare the Dying, and when they say can they swap it out, I always say yes, and go buy yourself a healer's kit. And they usually say to me, I've already bought a healer's kit because I realized it does exactly the same thing. Okay, I'm just grabbing some water. Now that we've talked about what John was talking about, so you can use different levels into this. You can just stick with the options that I've given you. I've given you a breakdown. Now, I have not play tested using a bonus action to cast Spare the Dying. I still think it's a good idea. It's it would be the only cantrip I think that I can think of that would wind up being a bonus action. That's quite a big change. And the problem with it being a bonus action is you still haven't got around the problem that it's better than the healer's kit, but you haven't got around the fact that they are still out of the fight. Unless somebody heals them, they are still vulnerable to attack. Now, if that's what you want, then the bonus action is going to be fine, not an issue. And it allows the player who's still standing to try and duke it out with who's fighting them. Okay? What do you got here, Fred? The real issue is you can just replace the cantrip with half a GP worth of first aid material. Yeah, it is problematic that it's so cheap. If the healer's kit was more expensive, that might change things, but I don't think it would, frankly. I think that you would have to keep increasing the price of the healer's kit to make it work. And the idea is to find a simple fix rather than go for something that's complicated. You know, so the options that I've given you, I would say option 2, 3, 4, and 5 do not really step on too many toes, and you can probably make them work. Yeah, 5th edition has a lot of options, and you can put in more options. And with Tasha's Cauldron to everything, we're going to get more options yet again, so that'll change things up. I'm a little concerned. I'm interested, but I'm also a bit concerned. Okay, now really a breakdown of what's been going on the channel. It is the 11th of September in New Zealand, which means that next week, if all goes well and I get my act together, you guys might actually see another video on clever uses of adventuring gear. And I may talk about stones or pebbles and how to use them in your game. For those of you who liked that series about how to use simple mundane adventuring gear in useful and clever ways, I'm considering doing a video on just the simple stone or pebble. Like, you don't even have to buy this thing. Now, if you don't get that video, then you are most likely to get a cantrip video on either minor illusion, prestidigitation, and how to use it in a clever way, or you'll get the best cantrips video for the sorcerer. Since I haven't done the sorcerer I feel is pretty easy to deal with because you get so many options and you get so many cantrips, but I'm sure there'll be somebody out there who would like that video to be released. It will happen no matter what. It can be guaranteed that even if it doesn't happen next week, it will happen. Now, for those of you who are here and are waiting for me to do the Dragon of Icespire Peak or the Lost Mine of Phandelver, I have videos for the Lost Mine of Phandelver coming out pretty shortly. If all goes well, you might see one in the next couple of days with me and Matthew Perkins. Not Chris Perkins, Matthew Perkins, okay? So for those of you who get confused, Matthew Perkins runs a YouTube channel and he's currently doing a series on the Lost Mine of Phandelver and how to modify it, and we had a discussion, so we're working through it. I've been working through a video with him on that. I've actually got 2, so that should be coming out. And near the end of the month, we'll go through the Curse of Strahd. I feel at this point we are most likely to wind up talking about the Mad Mage in the Curse of Strahd. For those of you who really wanted information about how to manage the Mad Mage and the Curse of Strahd, that may well be the video for the end of this month. And I think I will leave it to the end of the month so I can give you lots of options. Pardon me. You know how I work. I try to give you multiple options to anything that I do, and most likely you will see multiple options for how to deal with Mad Mage. Pardon me. I'm gassy. Rime of the Frost Maiden, Icewind Dale. Yeah, okay. I do believe, isn't it? So like a week away from release. It's not that far away, right? It'll take me a little while to get that book in my hands. But we'll see how we go. I like giving it range as a bonus action. Yeah, so giving it range and a bonus action. That's better, certainly significantly better than it was before. All right, Janchvik, how's it going? Still there any plenty of occasions when healers kits aren't available? Well, not really. I don't think there is. It's such a basic piece of equipment. Unless you are got a dungeon master who insists that you can't buy them in this town. It's a first aid kit. It is something. It would be like going and buying a toothbrush or a comb. A healer's kit is the most common thing you would find around. So you can go and buy band-aids and dressings at your supermarket in the real world. So why would you not be able to go down to any general store and buy them? And there's 10 uses in it. And if everybody has a healer's kit and there are 4 or 5 players, then that's 50 uses if you've got 5 players. And each one have got 10 uses in a kit of their own. So I don't feel like it's going to really work out. I don't think you can say healer's kit can't be purchased. Not unless you delete them from the game. Yes, this is one time, Janchvik, you're right. If the cleric is running out of spell slots, then Spare the Dying would make sense. But, as I said, if you've got the healer's kit, you don't need to worry about that. And really, everybody in the party should have a healer's kit. It'd be ridiculous not to do that. What's that? I'll probably like Matt better than Chris anyway. Matthew is a good guy. It's going to be a lot of fun. Trust me, he's got some very interesting things to say. I did think I mentioned that I done some videos with Bob World Builder. That's around Dragon of Icespire Peak. I've been talking with D&D Homebrew, that's Kevin, and we've been talking about, what have we been talking about? We've been talking about Hirelings and Curse of Strahd, and homebrewing and pinching and stealing content from pre-made adventures. We've talked about cursed magic items and the philosophy behind them. We've definitely been talking about some of the cursed magic items that both of us have used in our games. That's essentially what's coming in the works. It might take a few weeks or months to get that stuff out, but you can look forward to that content. It's been recorded, and that means it will eventually come to you. And I know even though the videos don't do very well when I collaborate with somebody else, I enjoy doing them, and I know a lot of you who really follow my channel quite a lot like watching those videos too. So they're going to keep happening. I did have a question, and since there is a couple of people in the room, there's a thing called TikTok. Now TikTok does very short videos, like a minute long. And I was wondering, would people be interested in me doing a TikTok channel? Would it be something you would be interested in? Or would you be more interested in me doing a really fast, quick, short video, like a minute long, where I don't do all of the things that YouTubers normally do and talk about, subscribing and Patreon and affiliate links, but literally just a tiny 1 minute on YouTube. I can do it on YouTube if you wanted. 1 minute piece of advice where I just give you a snippet, not the whole thing, but just a little taste. Is that something that you guys would be interested in? Yeah, I don't TikTok either, Janchevik, but I was kind of curious as to whether people would be interested in very, very short, like super short, like 1 minute, covering a topic. I can't compress stuff. So, Jason, there's no way I can compress a whole huge topic on Dungeons & Dragons 5e, but I can drop you tips in 1 minute. It would be impossible. That's why the videos that I do nowadays have gotten longer. When I was doing videos that showed you the mechanics of the game, that was a lot easier. I could do that in 2 or 3 or 4 minutes. Now we're talking about much more advanced stuff, and that takes anywhere from 8 minutes, 10 minutes, 15, 20, 25 minutes. That's why the videos have been getting longer, because we're covering much more complicated stuff. Now, the other thing I can do with a short form video is they're easy for me to shoot, really easy. Not only that, very easy for me to edit because I don't have to do very much with them. And I can also put them in a location outside of my studio or office. I can take them outdoors. I could do them at the beach. I could do them while I'm in the bush or taking a hike or while I'm in the mountains. I can do them with, I guess, a more interesting environment. That means there will be birds and crickets and cicadas and noises, ambient noise. That's all going to be there, okay? I can certainly do something like that if you would be interested, because I know a lot of people are stuck at home and therefore getting to see the outside world. New Zealand is a very nice looking place, so I can sort of show off some of it. If people were interested, I will go and do that. I'm fine with giving that a shot if you're interested. And, you know, we can always try it once, and if it doesn't work out, we just don't go back to it. Okay. Icewind Dale. So, Joe, are you going to be covering Icewind Dale on your channel? That's a question I have for you. Because I'm sure that a lot of channels are going to cover it, but I was just wondering if you're going to be covering it. Gentrific, don't know. Keyless kit is expensive at first level. No, it's really not. I mean, you have like, between most first level characters have about 10 gold coins, and you're going to spend 5 on a healer's kit that will save your life. You know, the healer's kit is the most important piece of equipment that you could possibly buy with your gold. I can't think of anything else that would be more important than that. And you know, I do videos on mundane equipment, and I encourage people to go and buy lots of different stuff. But yeah, I don't feel like it's that expensive. And Jason, yes, I do agree that, you know, just changing it to healing one hit point and stabilizing is not good enough. Just go with heals 1 hit point and they're conscious. It's a good way to go. Now, who's this? Nitaku. Look, I've probably I've probably destroyed your name, Dragon Soul. I'm just going to call you Dragon Soul. Hi, you're new. Welcome. Welcome to the channel. Do you have any questions for me? Because if you do, I will answer them. Still have a bit of time, fortunately. Jason, your videos are very fun. I try to make them fun. I guess my approach is, if I was looking for something myself on YouTube or the internet, can I find it? If I can't find it, then I make it. Just how I think, okay? I try to make things that I'm interested in and I think people would be looking for, and something that nobody else is doing, because that's always kind of how I've operated anyway. Okay, so so Fred, what do you got here? Another issue I would consider is going to upset people. Limit the number of cantrips per long rest. Originally in 2E, you gave up 1 first level spell slot to get 4 cantrips. Oh, okay. I hadn't really thought about that. Yep. So TikTok, we'll not worry about TikTok. I don't think I'd be interested in supporting a short. Okay, all right, that's fine. I just wanted to know. You're now covering more useful stuff for more experienced players. That is actually true, Fred. So Fred Hubbard makes a good point. I now cover much more complicated stuff that more experienced players and dungeon masters would be looking for. And of course, dungeon masters who are experienced are not looking for me to tell them how to do something. What they're looking for is a new idea on how to approach something, and if I have any feedback because I've done it before or somebody else has done it before, I guess that's what they're looking for as far as I'm concerned. I know that I would love to get more people who dungeon master and play the game in my videos talking all at once. I'm working on that. It's very hard. I'm in New Zealand, and the transition, the internet is not a stable platform. No platform really is, I've discovered, and I've been trying a couple of different things. What do you got here, Jason? I am looking forward to it as my game is currently located in that area. Ah, okay. All right, I see. Silver weapon. I don't know what that means. You've just written down silver weapon. Hopefully you'll tell me. Okay, Dragon Soul. I haven't played D&D since the very end of 3.5 and was feeling rather nostalgic. Ah, okay. Well, Dungeons & Dragons 5e is a different animal to Dungeons & Dragons 3.5. I still think that it has lots of merits to it. Welcome back to the hobby if you've been away for a while. And clearly you have. All right, Joe, what do you got here? I may cover some Icewind Dale miniatures or Icewind miniatures. Okay, not sure people want to know my opinion on books. I got my first downvote. Look, don't feel bad about that. Okay, you're going to get downvotes on book reviews. I can assure you that when I did a book review of Princes of the Apocalypse, there were a lot of people who dislike what I had to say about that book. And I have a dim view of Wizards of the Coast who make very long adventures with lots of pages that have a contents page but no index. It's impossible to find everything, and therefore you've got to go through and read every single page, every single word, and then you've got to label it some way so you can find everything, because it's scattered, the information. And Princes of the Apocalypse is one of those adventures where I made an index, and as a result of making that index, would you believe it, I've had so many people ask me for the index I made on the Princes of the Apocalypse. They make some appalling books. And then I did a player's guide on Princes of the Apocalypse, because I dungeon mastered part of it, and I played in the adventure, and I talked to the people who were playing at the table, and I talked to a whole bunch of people who played at another table. You're going to get downvotes. It's going to happen. Trust me. It is not the end of the world. It does feel like it, but yeah. I'm not experienced enough for book reviews. Yeah, I don't know about that, Joe. I'm not sure I'm going to buy that one. Aaron, how's it going, Aaron? Using the healer's kit should take 10 minutes, one exploration turn. The idea that you can administer first aid in 6 seconds is moronic. Aaron makes a very good point. I actually think that's very smart. It makes no sense that you can pull out a healer's kit and stabilize a dying creature in 6 seconds. And actually that would be a really good fix without having to make any adjustments to Spare the Dying. Although I still don't like Spare the Dying as it is. I still feel like Spare the Dying is sucky for people. But I know a lot of people are concerned that death in Dungeons & Dragons 5e seems to be impossible. I can assure you that's not the case. And maybe this is giving the players too much. But requiring that the healer's kit take 10 minutes to use and does not require a medicine check and you get automatic success actually is not a bad way of looking at it. At maybe 1 minute at the least. Yeah, okay. So in other words, it's not going to be useful during combat. It's only going to be useful outside of combat. Feels far more realistic, doesn't it? Not that we're necessarily going for real in something like Dungeons & Dragons 5e or Dungeons & Dragons, because it's a fantasy game, but not a bad idea. I think, Aaron, you get A+ for your suggestion. Hi, Cameron. How's it going? Aaron, but mechanics would become useless. I don't know that it's mechanically useless. Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Healer's Kit doesn't actually heal the character, it just stabilizes them. I guess that you can consider that healing in a different way. Hank Hill has arrived. Welcome, Hank. We'll start. Yeah, things to buy with starting gold. Healer's kit. Always recommend players do that. Okay, so hang on. So now, for those of you who don't know, I'm pretty sure that Fred Hubber has first aid training and fairly significant training. If I remember right, Fred fights fires. I mean, I've got first aid training myself because you have to. In most workplaces I've found, but particularly in the area that I work in, everybody is required to have a first aid kit because a lot of people die in the work that I do. So therefore, first aid is essential. Now he says here, healer's kit in combat. Quick application of tourniquet to stop bleeding now. They aren't bleeding out. That can be just seconds in real life. Yes, so Fred does make a good point. A tourniquet going on could be done very, very quickly, so 6 seconds may not seem like a lot. And, I know a lot of people get tied up, but you've got to pull out the healer's kit. But it's an interaction. And you would have little pockets on your backpack that you can tuck potions or hang potions off, or have something like a healer's kit set up so you just pull it out quickly. That's the whole concept behind it. Navy training, firefighting. Thank you. I got that, Fred. Nuclear plant mechanical operator. I knew there was something. You have talked about fighting fires before with some of the videos that I've made. Okay, Dragon Soul, what do you got here? Yeah, I have heard 5e has more in common with 2e. What's interesting is the core rules are based around Forgotten Realms rather than Greyhawk. Well, no, the rules aren't tied to any campaign setting. It has absolutely nothing to do with it. All it is the mechanical rules. That's it, nothing else. So you can use any setting with Dungeons & Dragons 5e. You do not have to use something like Dungeons & Dragons 2e. Okay? You don't have to do that. It's not necessary. Okay, and what do you got here? I was happy to see Ravenloft again. Have they published any new campaigns for Dark Sun or Dragonlance? No, they have not published any new campaigns for Dark Sun or Dragonlance. I don't believe that they are able to do Dragonlance because at some point Wizards of the Coast burned their bridges with the people, or at least one of the individuals who owns the copyright to Dragonlance. So as a result, we won't be seeing anything from Dragonlance. Now, Dark Sun is a different story. The only problem with Dark Sun is one of those things that appeals to dungeon masters and usually does not appeal to players. And I don't think it would necessarily get a huge number of people interested in it. Now, I think what is much more likely to happen is we may in fact see something like a Spelljammer or a planar travel kind of adventure in the future. I don't know necessarily a setting, but I think that's much more likely. I know a lot of people want to play, want to plane hop or travel beyond the world and not just deal with the Forgotten Realms or Faerun. They want to use, the pre-made worlds, and they want to use their homebrew worlds, and they want to be able to travel between them all, which is very exciting. It's very sort of, feels very much like the Star Wars game, Star Wars Saga, when I was running that RPG, where you can just go anywhere in this galaxy. No more boring characters. Hi, how's it going, mate? Yeah, the Felix reference was necessary. I could not think of anything else. But I have to say that Wreck-It Ralph could also be applied to Sacred Flame. It's not Sacred Flame, Spare the Dying. Let's not get them confused. I get the two, I don't know what it is, Sacred Flame and Spare the Dying. Why do they sound the same? It's just my brain rattles them out too quickly and I wind up with that. Okay, anyway. Moving through. It's quite clear, I can see that nobody's really interested in short form content, so we'll be sticking with the long form content, which means we just get like 1 or 2 videos a week, the live stream included. Okay. Fred, what do you got here? Got a commendation for selling Nazmat, the Navy. Okay. Couldn't get anyone to take my paying them to take it. I don't know quite what that means. Okay, it's beyond me. Too many things outside of my understanding. Yeah, you can homebrew Dungeons and Dragons 5e. You know, you can use a homebrew world. It's not a problem. You could use Greyhawk. Okay, let's talk about some of the adventures I have run, since there seems to be a discussion about different campaign settings and converting. And I will tell you the adventures I have used from previous versions of the game using the Dungeons and Dragons 5e rules. I ran the original Ravenloft with the Dungeons and Dragons 5e rules. I have run Beyond the Land Beyond the Magic Mirror, okay, which is basically a rip-off of Alice in Wonderland, or Through the Looking Glass, but it's Alice in Wonderland, okay. I have run the Isle of Dread, which I would be happy to talk about, the Isle of Dread. Now, why? Because I ran that as the adventure when I was playtesting Dungeons and Dragons Next, the alpha playtest. So the Isle of Dread. And I literally did not have to convert anything. I just needed to pluck monsters, chuck them in. It was actually so easy to do it. I did not have to sit down and make a whole lot of conversions. So trust me, you can use older adventures and still play with the Dungeons and Dragons 5e rules. That can be done. Yeah, it's probably better to monetize and have 10-minute videos, Fred. And yes, it's absolutely true. And also, too, watch time is very important. You've got to have at least 4,000 hours of watch time public. Otherwise, you lose your monetization. And that's actually quite difficult to do sometimes. It really is. It takes a long time to get that many views. You think about what we're talking about, how many hours that people have to watch. And that's over a 12-month period, yes. But still a lot of content if you're starting off small. Okay. I've run out of water. Oh, one more. What other adventures have I run using the 5e rules? Well, Isle of Dread with Dungeons and Dragons Next, which became Dungeons and Dragons 5e during the alpha playtest. I ran Keep on the Borderlands. Palace of the Silver Princess, the original one, not the modified one that got taken off the shelf. I ran the one that was originally created, that got ripped off the shelf because it had some pictures in there that people didn't really like at TSR. Okay. I've run. What else have I run? I've run a whole bunch of Pathfinder adventures. Murder's Mark. The Carnival of Tears. So that's a different, Pathfinder is just a clone of Dungeons and Dragons 3.5. So it's not that hard to do. And a lot of the adventures that I've run went right back to the basic game. So it's not difficult. You can do that with very little conversion. So if you want to do it, give it a go. There's probably more that I can think of if I had time, but I'm not going to chew up time doing that. I've rattled out a few. I even ran some 4E adventures, that's right. Revenge of the Giants for Dungeons & Dragons 4E, which is really just a reimagining of Against the Giants, which is a much older adventure written by Gary Gygax. And I also did the Tomb of Horrors, the Dungeons & Dragons 4E version, because they had a couple of different adventures for that, and I used the 5th edition rules for that. So you can use any version of the game, you'll be fine. For people that are carrying a lot of different potions, I ask them if they want to use a bonus action to take or give a potion, or I say, okay, you are in a hurry, roll a die. Okay, I see. All right, whatever works for you, mate. It's fine with me. I think I've got to the point where I'm trying to make videos that are just about options for people rather than everything else. Okay, all right. So now that we have had our discussion, I am thinking this is a good time to disappear and go and do something else. So wherever you are in the world, whether it be the morning, the afternoon, the night, or the early morning, make sure to look after yourself, your family, and your friends. Be nice to your neighbours, but keep your distance. And hey, till next time, keep rolling those 20s.